Hi, everyone. Come on in. Hello. Good to see everyone. Come on in. All right. Hello. Hello. Ooh, here they all come. There's Mr. Hallett. Let me let him promote to panelist. Okay. And let me keep my eye out for Miss Jessica, our special guest. Hi.
Hey, Val. Nice to see you.
Hi. Good to see you too. I'm keeping an eye out for our guest today.
Good.
Um, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Things are feeling really good.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Happy holidays to everyone. We have a special guest today, so I'm waiting for her and um just want to make sure she's not she'll be here.
Okay.
Just want to make sure she's not trying to reach me.
Yeah.
Um Hold on one second. Yeah. No, she said she'd be here, so I've got her bio up here. So good. So do you have any holiday plans?
I am flying to Chicago to be with family there,
Awesome.
and I'll be there for 5 days and then back here to get back to work.
Yes. Your family's had a rough year.
Yeah, it has been, mm, I know I'm not the only one,
Right.
you know.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, but as Caro Breton just said,
Hmm.
and I'll second this. It's the winter solstice.
Yes, it
And
is.
and the winter solstice is really important.
Yes,
It's the turning of the wheel.
it is.
And
It is.
Jessica Ranville is coming.
She is.
Awesome.
Okay, as Jessica gets settled, I'm going to introduce her. Hi, Jessica. Let me promote you. We're gonna let's see, we're gonna
Jessica.
pin her and we're gonna pin us too. And we're gonna pin me too. Okay. So Jessica, you're pinned.
Come on. Come on in, Jessica.
Yeah, come on in. There she is. Yay! Okay, let me read this bio because it's pretty impressive, you guys, for Miss Jessica Ranville. Here we go. Jessica Ranville was born in Winnebago, Manitoba, and has been based in New York City for the last 14 years. She received her BFA from Concordia University in Montreal and her MFA from the New School of Drama in New York City. She spent her first few years out of school doing a lot of indie theater, me too, which included devising physical theater and new play development, me too. A citizen of Manitoba, Métis Federation. She also became involved with the Indigenous theater community at this time, which continues to be an important part of her work as an actor and community member. She has developed work at the Playwrights Realm, Women's Theater Project, La Mama, The Lark, the Drama League, the New Ohio Theater, and has been in residence at IRT Theater twice, where she has devised original movement-based theater. Regionally and off Broadway, Jessica's worked at the Pearl Theater Company, Baltimore Center Stage, Portland Center Stage, Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center, Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and is currently understudying Manhattan at the Public Theater. In January, she will understudy at the Perlman Art Center in Between Two Knees by the comedy troupe, the 1491s. Jessica spent the majority of 2023 as the replacement performer in the tour of Where We Belong, a critically acclaimed solo show by Madeline Syatt. Jessica also filmed her first commercial this summer and continues to be a teaching artist when she can. She has been an adjunct in Brooklyn's college BFA acting program and has been a lead teacher for IRT Theater's West Side Experiment, a summer camp for experimental theater in both English and American Sign Language. Jessica is repped by Take Three Talent, Mad Catch Management, Ramona's Model and Talent, Carol Ingber, and Panache Management. Jessica started working with Actors Fast Track in the summer of 2020, where she participated in our Actors Biz School. It has completely changed her mindset around the business. Yay!
Yay.
Hey, thanks for having me. I missed you guys.
I
Nice to
miss
see you.
you. We miss you. We're so happy you're here. So this is exciting news because James and I are we're going to turn this into a podcast. So you actually might be the very first guest on our podcast once we get all the rigmarole going. So we just don't want to ignore that you might be our very first guest, and we're excited about that.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. And so part of that was to bring some actors that I've worked with for the last 12 years on stage with us to talk about what they're up to and what has changed for them, and what is changed about your mindset. So yeah, and James, do you want to add something to that before we shoot her some questions?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's lovely to see you, and I'm really excited about what you're doing and where you've been, where you're going. And I think also talking about the challenges you've faced and the discoveries you've made at each step along the way. Like that would be really great to hear, like where you came from in what you were thinking and where you are now, and how you made those shifts. To really understand, because there is a difference between the actor artist self and the business consciousness, and how we make that transition to keep our artist self alive as business people is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So smart as always, James.
Thank you. That's nice to say.
So yeah, so
Hmm.
what was your biggest what up until now, what's been your biggest hurdle? Like the thing that really, as soon as I said that, the thing that came up for you?
Like up until since like 2020 when I encountered Actors Fast Track, or like my whole career?
Your whole career's fine.
I would say biggest hurdle was giving myself permission and to really go after what I wanted, and also just to trust that I belonged in the room. I think that there was a lot of mindset stuff that I spent a lot of time sort of going in circles around, especially like in my mid-20s when I finished school, and we all did our showcase, and I was waiting tables in Brooklyn. And I kind of felt like I was just sort of like waiting for my time, like waiting for someone else to give me permission. And in the meantime, like I should just like be humble and like, those kinds of things don't happen to people like me, kind of thing. And that can be a big challenge, because then it's like no matter how much you accomplish as an actor or an artist, or no matter how much outside validation anyone gives you or evidence you have when you look back in your audition log, it sort of like doesn't ever live up to your inner critic. So having a mindset change is really helpful in that regard, because this career is like, I feel like I'm still so like early on in it in a way, but it's like there's never going to be enough. Like I'm beginning to see now that like you're never going to get to a point where you're like, oh, I just filmed my first season of my series that I'm a regular on, and like now I can just like trust that it's all gravy. Like it's there's just always going to be something else. And so I've been working on, I'm still in the process of that, but working on like how to be present and just be like, the me from 5 years ago would be like really excited about what's going on now. So, when I'm stressed, like I was stressed this morning about stuff, about like, what am I gonna do in 2 months or whatever? And so I've been trying to just be present and just be like, the future is happening right now. So just be thankful.
So Jessica, I have a question for you. When you talk about the inner critic, what is the language? What is the language or the form that your inner critic takes?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, I hope this will be helpful to people listening because I, because it really, I always need help with this. But my inner critic would say things like, well, like I said, like the kind of things that you want don't happen to people like you. You know, like your family, it goes back to your family origin, it goes back to all of that, right? Or you're not working hard enough, you're not doing enough, or you know, a great exercise that I know that Val like gives all the time is like look at the shows that you like and look at the media that you like and see where you belong on that show, to help build your brand and stuff. And so like inner critic being like, you don't belong on any of these shows. Like those aren't you. Like you can't. I can't see you there. You know. So yeah, I think that it takes all kinds of forms. But for me personally, I think when it's really the loudest for me is like you're not doing enough, or like you're not doing it the right way. When really it's
Hmm.
like there's no like one right way to do things. You know.
And
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, oh, go
Yeah,
ahead, Val.
James,
Sorry.
James, I thought about you because like James, what was your moment that you thought this is it? That you learned that it wasn't it?
Me?
Yeah, what was yours? I think I know, but what
Oh,
was your casting that you got that you were like, this is it?
oh, I've had two big ones.
Uh-huh.
Um, one of them was being cast with F. Murray Abraham in a show, and and I was like I had loved him um in some of his earlier films, and I thought, oh God, this is great, and it was an absolute nightmare, and I got fired. I got fired for doing a good job because he was embattled with the director, and the two of them were fighting, and I after the first or second night of rehearsal, a friend who was in the show, the two of us went out and we sat down at a Mexican restaurant with a margaritas, and and we looked at each other and we both said at the same time, I think I'm gonna get fired tomorrow, and we burst out laughing. We both were sure that the knife or the hammer was going to come down on our heads because it was a battle that neither of those two people was going to leave, so they're going to kick someone else out. And the next morning, the producer came in the door, and I was just sitting down to get ready for rehearsal, and he walked over and said, "Hey James, let's go for a walk. Why don't you grab your stuff?" And I started to laugh. I and he was like, why are you laughing?" And I was like, let's go for the walk. Um, and so that was one, and that show ended up bombing, and I was not associated with it. Um, and thank God. And the second time was being on Broadway, and so I really loved the cast, and I loved being in Diary of Van Frank. Um, but I always thought being on Broadway was the top best thing of the world, right? And the three of us are all actors who've done lots and lots of, um, you know,
Important theater.
but but by the seat of your pants, let's make this happen theater.
Yeah.
And and Broadway was so much about the box office and the money. It was so much about the bottom line. And there was so much financial pressure, and I was like, oh, that's what this world is. This is all about money. And I was like, wow, okay, so my dream of being the actor, um like I need to find a new way to protect it from the forces that are actually destructive.
Yeah.
um and it's not that there's anything wrong with the bottom line. It's just that as an actor artist, that's not where I'm coming from. And this is it's a tricky balance, right? It's a tricky balance to make this life as an artist actor work. Um, so those are the two things. Those are the two I don't know if that you're thinking about what.
No, I mean, that's what I was thinking. But you know, that's so funny because we all have had that, like that moment of realization
Mm,
that, oh, it's never going to be it. There's something always else, right? And so that's part of the journey of being an actor is I've never talked to an actor that didn't think that, right? And also even like I bet if you talk to Margot Robbie, because like, you know, even with her with the summer that she had, right? And like, but it's always like, and then there's always that point where you're like, you know. And so that was great that you brought that up. Awesome. Thank you. So Jessica, um, you also, I know of a couple of things. You also got cast in a TV show and then were unable to do that. Is that correct?
Oh, I got called in
Oh,
to speak for it. So I didn't quite get cast in it.
but you weren't able to do it because of,
Oh, I wasn't able to do it because I'm Canadian and I'm on an artist visa. And
oh,
I got that audition through sending a warm email to the casting director,
mm,
like I learned in Actors Biz School.
yeah.
And the casting director got back to me and was like, thanks for advocating for yourself. Like, I'll keep you on file. And then sure enough, like a couple months later, um, he sent me, it was New Amsterdam. And he sent me a tape. And yeah, and because I don't have a green card, I'm on an artist visa. I couldn't do it. So I've come up again, I bumped up against that a couple of times. There was something that I got called in for Lincoln Center a few years ago because I had taken a couple of workshops with that casting director and she really liked me
mm.
and I couldn't do it. Um, so you know, that's a good one when you were like, what are some challenges that's been really hard? Like that was really discouraging. I mean, since Equity changed their rules, what was it like this 2021 when they had that big conference?
Mhm.
Um, it's easier now for like the folks who are listening, maybe who are on like O1 visas, like now you can join Equity. But before that, it didn't matter if you got cast in an Equity production and could technically get your card, you couldn't actually use it properly if you didn't have a green card. So
That sounds so hard. What a difficult, what a challenging thing to go through.
yeah, but you know what? It kind of forced me to like do a lot more showcase codes because that's all I could do. And I kind of look back on it now like um I'm really glad that I did all that downtown, like off Broadway theater, like to your point, James, about being like an artist creator. Um, I could look back on like the all of my 20s as like, oh my God, you could have been like doing so much more business minded stuff. And, you know, you kind of like you didn't just ask for the jobs that you wanted. And you could have, now that I look back on it, like I totally could have been doing all this stuff. But I'm just like, life happens the way it happens. And I'm just really grateful for the fact that I spent all that time just in black boxes in New York. Like I couldn't go to the EPAs, like I couldn't get those contracts because I didn't have a green card. And so I just was doing all kinds of like experimental indie theater. And, you know, that really like informed me as an actor. So
Yeah,
That's
that's
beautiful.
really important because, you know, a lot of times, like, you know, I taught in university for years and I was always like scared when like a new student would get a big agent right out of the gate because I thought, you know, it's so much better to get some experience before you're thrown in front of Steven Spielberg, right? You know, and because then you're ready for it. And so it makes a big difference. And the other thing that you brought up, which I was talking to with we got some really big news in our family this last week, which really affected a lot of people. But it was interesting because I've been talking to my cousins and I haven't really talked to my cousins as adults this much that I have this week. And so sometimes something bad happens that forces you to do something that turns out to be a good thing, right? And I feel like I've had this conversation a couple of times. I had it with a client yesterday that sometimes one of our guests said at one point, you know, when you throw a pebble in a pond, you don't see all the ripples. And sometimes we're waiting for proof that what we're doing is working. And really, we have to just keep throwing the rocks in the pond and trusting that they're doing their job and that it's working for us. So what I think is really exciting, Jessica, is like you have momentum now. You have some momentum happening. You've had it for a year and a half, correct?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So talk about that. Like, how did the momentum start? And you've already mentioned that you're afeared that it's going to stop, because anytime we get momentum, there's always that fear lingering. When's it going to stop? When's it going to end? You know?
You know what I was saying when I was out in at OSF this fall with Where We Belong, because it was touring, and then I booked Manahata, and I was saying to someone like, there should be like a special German word for the specific relief that you have when you're working on one contract and you know you have another one coming up, because there's nothing in the world that feels so good, because you know, it's like, oh great, I got the contract, and then the next thought is like, well, what am I going to do when the contract's over? You know? And I think that that's just, I just laugh at myself about it, you know, and like this contract is quite short, you know, it's like a couple of months. And maybe in February, March, like I might be waiting tables again, you know, because I gotta like buy groceries. And like, I think the other thing in terms of mindset and stuff that that's okay. You know, like we're freelancers, and it, you know, it goes like this. And so I think that it's about building momentum is also like a mindset thing. Like in the past when was, you know, running to rehearsal on the weekends and in the evenings and going to work brunch and all this stuff, I was like, oh, I'm taking a break from work to do this show. But now I'm like, oh, I'm taking a break from work to do some shift work to bring in some cash. And so I've sort of inverted the way I think about it. Or it could be teaching, or it could be, you know what I mean? But I think that it's kind of a trap to just to be like, well, I can never go back to, like, I have to always be booked always, or else everything's a disaster, you know? Um,
Jessica, how do you, at this point now, um, how do you speak to yourself about the thing you brought up around trusting that you belong in the room? Like what for you is the inner dialogue now when you sort of say like, you know, like what is it to belong in the room, and how do you conceive that?
oh, um, oh, I was just talking to someone about this the other day, actually, who I call my other study, the other understudy in my show. Um, um, I think for me, a big gift that I give myself, especially for theater, at least, because I've been doing a lot more in the room stuff for theater, is just knowing that I've prepared and um really rehearsing it, you know,
Mhm.
that helps a lot. And then you know, what we learned from all the stuff I learned from AFT about like I'm a professional in the same way that the person across the table is a professional. And I have this body of work behind me that I can sort of stand on. And that I trust that if not this, then another thing. So to let go of any sort of like desperation energy that I might be bringing into the room, and to just like show up like I'm showing up for work, you know, as opposed to like, and sometimes it depends on the day. Like if I'm feeling kind of spiritually tired, like that might creep in again a little bit, and then I have to like um just remind myself, or just be like, it's okay, like you got a little nervous there, it's fine. But I think just and also doing it a lot. Like I've been going to a lot of EPAs in the mornings before I have to show up to the public. Like I'll just like hit up an EPA like once a week or something like that. Um, just to make it like, well, obviously to get work, but the other reason is like just to be like, no big deal. I'm on my way somewhere, but I'm gonna pop in and be like, hey, like here I am. And yeah, I think all of those things help me feel more in the room. And just knowing that like they don't really like, so much of that is just coming from me. That whole like you don't belong in the room thing is coming from my inner critic. And really those people are just like doing their jobs too.
So so what kind of spiritual, mental, physical routine do you have to help you keep that positive inner talk going? Do you have some routines that you do?
Oh,
Like
I
meditation or anything like that?
yeah. Um, well, I journal a lot. I like to do yoga. Um, I try to do yoga as much as I can, like in the morning and stuff, and kind of and and just doing like I feel like doing vocal warm-ups helps me. Like just actually getting the more in my body I feel, the more confident I feel. That's absolutely for sure. Like if I've done like a good warm-up and I'm like resonant and my voice is coming from a deeper place, I will move through space and through rooms differently and than if I'm just kind of like tense and like, oh hi, you know what I mean? And also I think just surrounding myself with different people, like surrounding myself with people who are positive and who are also like fellow artists, but they don't have to also be fellow artists, just people who are like going after the thing. And you know I don't really have a I realize that for me it's not really healthy for me to be around like whole groups of people that are sort of cynical about everything. um it's difficult for me to like keep my, because I'm like, we all have a hard, like we all have a tough career, like we need to keep our spirit up. So I think that being around like positive people who are also like on the same path um is really helpful.
I think I totally hear you. It is such a trap to get caught into the complain cycle, and and we can actually bring ourselves down. And it's so important um to remember the friendships and remember the friends who who bring us back into our positive self, who challenge us to keep going, right? Keep going, keep believing. You're great. Love what you're doing. Um, it's it's so interesting. Um, the word critic itself. I think about how much I disagree with the critics who write, you know, who write about plays and movies, and I'm like, I completely disagree with them. And the same is true with our inner critic, right? It's like, we have to be able to disagree with our inner critic, you know, like you're wrong, right? That criticism coming at us is actually not appropriate and not helpful and not good, you know.
Oh, that reminds me, I also discovered a really helpful thing a couple months ago. I started reading about parts work, um, which is like a therapeutic model. It's like family systems model. I won't get into it, but the part that's important is that it's the idea that like we all have different parts inside of us. So we have our child part and our kind of angsty teenage part and our protector part. And so what I've been trying to like practice doing from based on this stuff that I've been reading is like when the inner critic shows up, to instead of being like go away, like you suck, like get out of here, to just be like, oh, this is my protector. This
Yeah.
is like my protector that's it's trying to keep me safe.
Yeah.
But and to just be like, thank you, inner critic, for like trying to like keep me safe and be like, this is never gonna work. Like you don't belong here. But it's actually okay. Like I got it. And so to have more of a friendly attitude towards it, just to know like that inner critic is a part of me that's maybe from like a young place or place that like doesn't really know how else to keep us safe than to be like, it's dangerous, like this is not going to work out, you know, and then to just take on the more, you know, parent side or whatever, you know, self side, and just be like, it's actually okay. Like, thank you, but I got
That's
it.
really good because you know, it's that whole fight or flight thing that that is still with us from caveman days, right? And there is that protector inside of us, but the protector is frequently the person that talks us out of taking jumps off the cliff. And you know, and of course you don't want to jump off a literal cliff, but like as an actor, you know, we have to do that frequently. And so it's really and I notice as working with actors every day that for some people that person is really strong for them. And I love the fact that you're kind to that person and saying, you know, thank you, but I have this. But thank you for caring about me, and wanting to protect me, but I've got this. So I have a, you know, because of your background in physical theater and because of my background in physical theater, I understand the religiousness of acting, you know, the ritualisticness of acting, because I come from the Grotowski and the Suzuki and all that, as you know. And so I want you to talk a little bit about like that. Like, what is that? I mean, you talked a little bit about doing that downtown theater, but what has that taught you as an actor, that sort of deep study of physical theater? What has that brought to you as an actor?
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like it's really like, it's kind of everything for me. Um, I encountered Grotowski when I was 19, when I started my BFA program. I just happened to have a teacher that trained in like Yat Malgrim, Laban, Grotowski, just very physical theater based acting, and blended it with you know, Stanislavski and script analysis, and you know, building a character via physicality. And that's kind of followed me all the way through. And I I remember actually taking a workshop a few years ago at HB Studio with a someone who had come over from England to do like a workshop of Laban Malgrim work,
Mm.
which is sort of in conversation with Grotowski a little bit. And I was doing like a character study on Joan of Arc, like Shaw's Joan of Arc. And I had to list all the, you know, you list the qualities that you are like and the qualities that the character that are furthest away from you. And one of them I put was spiritual. And I said, well, she's very spiritual, and I'm not, you know, because I'm not religious. And the teacher was like, you don't think you're spiritual? What do you guys think, class? Like, do you think that she's not spiritual? I think you're very spiritual. And I remember in that moment being like, oh yeah, I am very spiritual.
Yeah.
Um, and I really have embraced my love of ritual, and so it is kind of church for me. And I can appreciate how folks who go to church, like they get that it really, I think that really feeds all humans, you know, like this coming together and this agreement and this ritual. And so for movement, I just feel like that is like that's how I can really tap into that. And I think that's what sort of keeps me um in the room, especially when it comes to these like big like bottom line type productions, you know, or like having like I was meeting with my agent this week, and you know, in an office building and you know, stuff like that. And I just remember thinking like, you can be the artist that you are. You don't have to, like, you can have your business side and also just speak to your agent like from an artistic point of view, because you are very spiritual, and you are an artist. And I think that physicality uh, um, helps to um, remind me of that, especially in those rooms where like it can be like really high status, or it feels sort of, it can be intimidating. You can never deny what your body is where your body is at. You know what I mean? Like the body is a brain. And so I think that voice and breath and movement are just so, I just think that that's where all acting begins. And I love the method. I mean, I'm trained in the method and stuff, and in you know, all that kind of stuff. I can't even remember what the word is called now. Memory,
Sense memory, that kind of thing.
sense memory. Yes, sensor. Thank you. I swear I went to school for this. Sense memory, and you know, but I just I think they can all. I think they're all. I think it's a figure eight. You know, I just to answer your question. I can just go
No,
on and
you
on.
totally did, and you made me cry.
Oh.
Because that's what it means to me. And I believe that it's beautiful what you said just now, because you held on to the ritual and spirituality of your acting and understood that you were in a business situation. Because I don't want you to be two different people, and I'm speaking to all the actors that are on here now. I don't want you to be two different people. I just want you to, I would love for you to be able to hold on to your spirituality and your ritual when you're also in the business. It's like if you meet a ballerina, they're always pulled up. That's why I think it's like why ballerinas make such good clients, because ballerinas have a discipline, inherent discipline, and a lot of actors don't, without you've trained in Grotowski or Laban or Suzuki or, you know, what San Francisco Mime or whatever it's been, right? If you've trained in those things, then you have that religious ritualness. You know, I mean, Grotowski and his people slammed into my head sempre estratio. There's always an excuse, and stop saying you're sorry. And you know, and he always said American actors are lazy, right? And so that's, you know, but he also drove his actors to commit suicide. So hey, but you know, I think that like that's why I love working with ballerinas, because they have that discipline, they have that religiousness, that ritualness all of the time. You know, it goes with them even after they're done dancing with New York City Ballet. You know, they still have it, right? And so I think that we all have to find that as actors, because then we can carry that into our business and have, because I think the reason we falter in business a lot as actors is because we don't have belief in ourselves, and we don't have that, right? We don't have the full dedication to our art. Because if you did, you would figure the business part out. That's
I
my,
agree.
yeah.
I agree. I agree. I think that one of the biggest discoveries that I've made, which sort of aligns with what you've been saying, Jessica, and also Valerie, is we need to know and discover what we need to do to support ourselves. Like what do we as an artist actor need to do to keep in shape, to be ready, to be prepared, and we need to do it. And when we do it, then we belong in the room because we're actually ready and we're open.
Yes.
And so part of that is self-discovery, right? Like I need to know, what does James need to do to prepare? And then it's about doing it so that I am prepared. And then I can walk in the room and be like, well, I'm ready and I'm here and I'm bringing my full self. And so it's, the ritual, part of the ritual for me is understanding that it's okay for me that I need to take the time that I need. Like doesn't matter that someone else can do it quickly, doesn't matter that someone else memorizes faster, doesn't matter. I mean, I just as an example for me, like I am really bad with memorizing lines in terms of like the length of time it takes me. And I know that. So when I enter a project, I actually will be like, hey, be ready. It's going to take me longer to memorize my lines, but I will get there. And I know my instrument. And it's so important. It's so important that we do, like you guys both did the Grotowski work, and Like you experienced a discovery about what that is to you and how that brings you there. Um, so Jessica, for you, what are there? And I think Valerie talked about this earlier, but like, what are the rituals? Like we sort of discussing that. Like, um, do you have things that are the little things that you do to support yourself? Like the little things you're like, oh, I need to do that for me. This is what I have to do. Like, what are those things that you sort of the little steps you take to own something?
I mean, there are different ones for different parts of the process, right? Like if it's an audition, um, I always, I always have to print out I can't do anything on a screen. Like I need to print out everything. Um, and then I usually, I have my little music stand that I usually put in the middle of my kitchen and like, learn all my stuff. And I have like a very, specific way that I mark my text that is sort of an amalgamation of, of, various teachers and their things that I've kind of splished together. And then, there's just, you know, trying to like making sure that everything, I know this sounds like so like acting 101, I know, but like
No, it's great.
just making sure that everything, it means something to me. Because sometimes you can get like I'll be like in the midst of things and I'll be learning the line and being like, okay, so especially if it's like TV, like, okay, it needs to be like this, and where are my eye line, my sight lines, and what this and that. And then I sometimes have to stop and be like, oh, what am I even saying? Like, does this like what does this mean to me? Like when I'm talking about this person, like who's that to me? Like, why do I care? And that's like something that if I don't do that, then I know that it's harder for me to be connected and feel confident. And that's when I'll get uh grumpy. Like I've learned that too, like especially in rehearsal. Like if I'm feeling kind of grumpy with the director, or like, yeah, I know. Then like, I kind of have to stop and be like, are you prepared? Like, did you come into the room prepared, or you maybe a little not as prepared? So now you're getting a little defensive, versus like when I come in and I'm like, I worked on this, like I made some choices, then I feel much more open to receive, like I feel more open to being vulnerable, and like getting notes and stuff like that. And like James, what you were saying, like I was thinking when you were like, just so you know, like this about me. Like for me, it's like I will talk a lot at the beginning. Like when we do the table work, like I will want to go through every line with a fine-tooth comb and be like, but when she said she was at the supermarket, like what was she buying? Or something. Like, but then once we get really like later in rehearsals and into tech, then I will just be like, okay, go, like got it, got it, got it. And I'll just take the notes. But you're gonna have to deal with me at the beginning being like, but why? Or like, we should talk about the relationship she has with her doorman,
Well, I remember the very first thing I heard in acting school was the best actor asks the most questions. That was
Okay, well,
the very first thing I heard in acting school. So there you are. You're the best actor because you ask a lot of questions. So um, that's
uh,
great that you do that. So what do you do like once you book the job? Are there certain, and you can talk about, is there some, you know, do you send thank you notes, or do you like as an actress, like how do you deal business wise when you book a show? I'm
oh,
interested in that.
um, I I don't do as much of that. I don't do as much of that as I should. Thanks for
Okay.
reminding me.
Sure.
I'd like to keep, I mean, I have an audition log. I have like like a CRM, so I know like I have a log of like who I've gone in for and stuff. And
And
I
a
think,
CRM, thank you, Jessica, for saying that, is a customer relation management software. For you guys that aren't part of Actors Fast Track, that's what a CRM is. Everyone at Actors Fast Track better know what a CRM is.
yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So I I think that that's like where I am right now. I'm really good in the room in terms of like conducting my business and stuff. And I mean, yeah, I'm good on email stuff because that's how I got a lot of my reps is through following Actors Biz School and just following the steps. And sometimes I'll even go back, like I'll go back to the lessons, like if I have a meeting and I'll just refresh my mind about like, oh yeah, like this is what you should do and stuff.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'm a little more light touch when it comes to like sending out the things. And I think that that's something that's just kind of a me thing. And I can always like that's something that like I can always turn the dial up a little more on. Which you all are always like helpful at reminding me because I'm kind of like, oh yeah, like I'll see them when I see them, but it never hurts to remind them. Um, I have like plans to send like a holiday, like an end of year, like it was so great working with you this year.
Yeah, you definitely should do that because gratitude will get you more work. But we just for you guys that don't know, we just moved our biz school to a new platform and Jessica's been in there. So I saw Jessica in our new platform and that's great because you know, um yeah, it's like a lot of times we learn something but then we learn it here and then we learn it here and then like you said sometimes like, oh, I'm going into a meeting and I need to go back to how do I get keep or fire my agent course and figure out what this meeting is about because it can you know yeah, we're not programmed as much around the business, right? And so we have to program ourselves in that. We could keep the spirituality and all the things we talked about today, but it's just a learned thing. I saw
So
something. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, in terms of like what rituals and stuff like that, the SOP that like Val and I talked about in our coaching, you know, that has like stuck with me where like when an audition comes in, I'm like, okay, it like sets off a series of things, like as simple as like print out the thing, put it in your calendar, look at when it's due, look at your when am I gonna tape this? Like figure it out now. Ask the person who's going to be a reader. Am I going to get this coached or not? Okay, if I'm going to get it coached, call Kurt. Actually, he's coaching me later today on
He
something.
is. That's hilarious. So standard operating procedure is SOP for everyone that doesn't know what that is. Standard operating procedure, right? And so we teach that around everything, right? So when you get an audition, what do you do? Do you have a list? When you're looking, all of you guys are always asking me, how do I find their email? Right? Well, you should have a standard operating procedure for looking for emails, right? And so that's so great. I love hearing this about the Actors Biz School because we're getting ready to reboot it for you guys that don't know. And we're going to be adding bonus courses for 6 of the courses just because I feel like it's been 4 years almost. And I want to add like what's changed for us in 4 years around branding, what's changed for us around sales, what's changed for us around marketing. So we're going to go through the courses together. A couple of you are joining me with that process. It starts January 12th. If you're interested, reach out to me and we're going to reboot it. And I'm really excited about that because I love how much it's affected you and stayed with you. It makes me proud of the Actors Biz School because that's why I built it. And so thank you for saying those things. You probably didn't even know that, but
Yeah, no, it's a great course,
thank
y'all.
you.
I mean,
Thank you.
and it's good to have, like, it's good to come back to, and it just, oh, especially that summer, 2020.
Yeah.
Like, what do I have to show for myself? Like, everything was like, I was very confused. And it's really, really helpful for just mindset work as well as practical stuff. So,
Yeah. Let's take some questions.
We,
Uh,
we have we have one question.
yeah. So if you guys have questions, put them in the Q&A.
So Vivian Armstrong says, "What is a good affordable thank you gift to give clients for the end of the year?"
What would you do, Jessica? What would you give for clients at the end of the year or customers of yours?
well, my agent isn't a client, but I just brought her a babka.
Well, she works for you, so she's you know, I definitely give gifts to my agents.
Yeah.
And I like, you know, I like Dunkin' Donut cards or Starbucks cards, you know, I think those are always good. And you can give a $5 card, you know, at least it's a cup of coffee. Well, maybe not at Starbucks, but at Dunkin' Donuts it is, right?
So helpful to like, if you, it just came to me, but if you look up, I know a lot of people are still working from home, but if you look up where their office is and you look at like what's around their office, then you can get them a gift card to a place that they probably go to all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, or like we did that, I think with you, I did that with a couple of people that because there's so many people around Chelsea Market in New York, and it was like they have Chelsea Market has a gift card, or there was like a Giftly, I think it is, that you can buy a gift and they can choose where they use the gift card, which is great.
I mean, you know, we're all on a budget, and
Yeah.
I actually believe that sending a nice card itself is such a lovely gift, and so you know, I mean, just have a fit like to actually receive a physical card where you just write a nice note is it's actually such a lovely thing, and becoming so rare now. So even if someone doesn't give something that's money, or you know, just I you know, and we talked earlier about like writing thank you notes. I think writing a physical thank you note and sending it snail mail through the US Post Office is actually such a lovely thing, and can be so surprising to people. Um,
Yeah, I
you know.
can't imagine anyone getting it, no matter how inundated they are or like stressed out they are. I can't imagine anyone being annoyed by like a sincere handwritten thank you card.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had years ago we had a client who went to NYU, and she was booking like all these co-stars, right, in Los Angeles, and she wanted to be booking guest stars. So we made a guest star plan with her, and the plan was she went to Target, you know, and they sell the papyrus cards, which by the way are about $5 anyway, like $5 to $7 each. But she bought like 10 of them, and she wrote to 10 people that had cast her in co-stars and said, you know, I don't know if you know this, but I went to NYU and I really appreciate that I did that lovely co-star on Grey's Anatomy, but I have the training and the ability to do top of show guest stars, and I would love to come in for one this year. And then she set the intention that the card was so pretty that they would want to keep it. So she got, out of 10, she got 7 auditions.
Wow.
And the first one was for Grey's Anatomy. And she went to the Grey's Anatomy audition, and she's signing in, and she looks up, and on the cork board above the sign-in sheet was her card.
That's great. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. More questions, James?
Anna Chekasvili says, "Hi Jessica, you have great energy. Thank you for being so honest about sharing your acting journey with us. My question is, who's your favorite director or writer you've always dreamt of working with, or a TV show you want to be part of?"
Oh, thanks, Anna. Um, who is my favorite director or writer you always dream to work with? Annie Baker. Dream of being in an Annie Baker play. You guys know I love you. I mean, of course.
Yes.
Belle's like, of course she wants to work with Annie Baker.
That's nice.
Mine was Joanne Akalaitis, but you worked with her, right?
No,
No.
I was in a project of someone who was in residence with her. So she would like come in and like watch our
Oh, yeah, yeah.
TV show I want to be a part of, Severance. I would, you know, Severance on Apple TV.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite new shows. And I was just telling my agent when I met with her this week, she was like, so what do you like 2024? Like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you see yourself on? And I was like, Severance. Like, or, you know, anything like cerebral like that. I just think that, that's just my current show. But like those shows that are just like such amazing writing. And I guess the good thing now is like my attitude after finishing season 1, and hopefully we'll get season 2 soon. The strike is over. is like, as opposed to being like, oh, I wish I could be on that show, is like, who's that casting director? Like, I need to be on that show, you know? So hope they have more seasons.
I'm somebody somewhere, and I just pitched her again now that the strike's over, because I grew up in Kansas and I love that show, because like Kansas always gets a bad rap, and all my friends in Kansas were gay and trans, and that show is filled with gay and trans, and I'm like, yeah, that's the real Kansas, right? And so I'm like, I want to be on that show, and so I just pitched Nicole again, the casting director. So I know what you mean. It's really, when you love a show and you belong on it, it's just like, yeah. So you pitched yourself to John for From, and he really loved you. So that was exciting, because that's shot in Canada. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on my 2024 to
it's so
do.
good. That the end of the second season was so good. I can't wait to see the third season. I'm addicted to that show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Not yet. So Jessica, I wanted to say, as a kid, my first stepmother was from Winnipeg,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and so I actually know Winnipeg very well and have family members there.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, so this Panache management that they reached out to me, and apparently there's a bunch of stuff getting filmed in Winnipeg um that I was not aware of. So I'm hoping to get back there because you know, my nation, the Red River Métis, like they're from, as I'm sure if you spent time in Winnipeg, like that they're from Manitoba, and there's a lot more stories now like being told. So I'm really like, it's important to me to, I'm hoping to get back there. As much as I love being in New York, that's kind of one of my shorter term, like near term goals, is to get back to where I'm really from and be part of those stories, however I can.
That's
So
awesome.
a
Yeah.
lot, yeah, a lot of stuff to focus on.
Another question.
Oh,
Carolyn Center says, if someone is in the very beginning of a career and never books a job, what should be the process for thinking how to evaluate the direction and decide what changes to make?
is that for me?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, go for it.
It's for the taking. Go for it.
Yeah. What should be the process for thinking how to evaluate the direction and decide what changes to make? Well, um, I would just say to whenever I'm feeling in that way, like I'm feeling like I kind of ran out of gas, or I'm like kind of figuring out like where should I go next direction wise, I always get back into class. I just find like a scene study class or a studio or something like that. And it helps me just get like back into practice and kind of get in touch with my my instrument, my artistry. And also it helps to get feedback from the instructor, or a lot of these classes sometimes like they will help you find out like um where your strengths are, or where you could like pay a little more attention, and um just sort of get that conversation going around like around all of that. And I feel like that could, like, at any point in your career, I know it said at the beginning of a career, but um I I'll probably take a class in 2024 at some point, just to like keep in touch with that. And then I would also get a business coach. I don't know, maybe Actors Fast Track.
Oh, she has me. The woman that asked the question. But I also think, like as far as like if you're really looking on like how to break down a script and stuff like that, Carolyn, that's something that we can definitely talk about, even though I'm your business coach, we can definitely talk about that. But I think like, if you're really trying to figure out your system for how you get ready to perform a script, and Carolyn's a voiceover artist. I think it's really about really understanding, and you said it, Jessica, really understanding what am I literally saying? And even in voiceover, who am I talking to? right? Like, who am I talking to and wanting to tell? So listen, I'm doing a commercial for Vaseline, and I'm talking about how, it really helps my lips when they're chapped. Right. And so maybe I have a friend that has a lot of skin issues, or I've had friends that have had health problems. And so maybe I choose one of those friends and I'm like, look, I know you have dry lips and I understand that because so do I. And so if I understand what I care about my friend, even though it's just about Vaseline, it doesn't matter because I have now a sincere reason as to why I need to tell someone about this. And so I think, too, and one thing that really helps me a lot is what I call parallel dialogue, Carolyn. So say it in your own words. So when we're working on Shakespeare, we always do parallel dialogue, right? Gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, towards Phoebus' lodging. Hurry up, horses, get here now, right? So how would Valerie say it? And then go back and say it in what the words are written, and then say it in your words, and say it in the words that are written until they sound familiar. And that really helps. Like, I just had a client that was cast in, kind of olden days piece, right? And she had a lot of problems with the language, and it really helps if you do that with language that isn't like you talk, because most stuff is written like we don't talk, right? And so we have to learn what it is for us. So that can help you too, Carolyn. But we can talk about that in a session, because Carolyn is like spending a year with me. So spending my
That's great.
last year, for you guys that don't know, my last year of private coaching.
I know.
Yeah, Jessica, last year of private coaching until next year. I mean, well, we're almost in 2024 till the end of that. So yeah.
I mean,
No, yeah.
then we're out of we're out of questions. I mean, the other thing that I would add to that, and which you both sort of said also in your own way, is finding someone, like finding somebody who you're working with, whether it's a class or a coach, or who's going to um, help you, especially in the initial phases, to get comfortable in front. If it's a stage audition where you're working it with them, and you get to the place of feeling relaxed and confident, or it's a TV and film audition where you're working with someone who's helping you with these questions of personalization, as Jessica was talking about earlier, right? Personalizing the text, making sense of it. Who am I looking at? Where am I looking? What is a scene about? These are all good places that when you're beginning, you need to be asking these questions, right? Like, you need to begin to be thinking um, about who you are, where you are, what you want, which are all the basic questions. And so finding somebody good to challenge you and to guide you in that beginning place. And that can take many forms, right? It can be a class, or I mean, Valerie's an acting coach. I'm an acting coach. Jessica, you mentioned someone who you work with. Like, we all
Yeah,
need that.
through Actors Fast Track.
Yeah.
Kurt. Yeah.
Right. So we all need that.
Yeah.
I started auditioning for audiobook stuff to explore it, and I immediately hired, like, here I am, like, I'm an acting coach. I'm a professional actor. But when I began exploring that, I immediately hired two coaches, right? And it's because um we sometimes need that person outside of us to just listen and hear. And maybe that person's going to say, "Oh, you don't need much work. You just need to think about this," right? Switch this, think about that. Ask this question. Um, but these are, getting good coaching is a really important thing for all of us. Even business coaching, right? I mean, Valerie and I met each other in a business coaching program,
Yeah.
and it transformed our lives.
Yeah.
And continues to do so.
Yes. 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 I love coaching. So
Yeah.
I get a lot of coaching. I've been getting coached all year on finances and money, which has been not fun, but I like my coaches, like, it's been treacherous. But it's been I've learned a whole lot and it's changed my life, but it's been like, you know.
Well, but also like, I mean, just as a friend, like I've noticed that your experience of it has changed. So you're even more relaxed about it now,
Oh my God.
right? Because, right. So the other thing is that as we tackle the difficulty, we transform it.
Yes.
And as we change the relationship, like what you were saying, Jessica, about the critic, right? Changing the relationship to the critic, right? And that was a place of transformation, that it's no longer an enemy, it's not something to get rid of. It's actually, how do I integrate this into myself? You
Yeah.
know, how do I integrate business into my career? How do I integrate money into my life? How do I, these are all fantastic questions.
And you're never done. You know,
No.
the thing, it's like, and I beat up on myself because I'm 61. I'm like, I should know this, like, what am I gonna ever figure this out kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, Valerie, you are someone that's always figuring it out and always learning and always willing. And I actually got that from my mom. My mom has been someone that's never been afraid to change. I remember when computers came out, my mom went to the local university at 50 years old and took, courses so she could figure out how to turn a computer on and how to make her Christmas labels and all of the things that she likes to do with her computer. And she's like, one of those, now that she's going to be 90 in February, she's one of those. So it was probably like more like 60 that she was, learning all that stuff, that she's one of those people that can, adapt. And a lot of her friends and her age can't. My mom is like a whiz on this. The 90-year-old texting.
I
She's
love it.
So Jessica, I want to ask you, like, if you could plant a seed for your career for this new year, like if you're like I have one magical seed I could plant. What magical seed would you plant for this new year?
Oh, magical seed. Um, I think I would just plant a seed of, I'm trying to find like the language around it. Like, first I was gonna say like, well, I really want to focus on TV this year, whatever, but I think it's more like everything we talked about in this webinar, like planting a seed of like 2020, like sailing out with like a good attitude, like being an attitude of like uh what's the opposite of scarcity? Like there's so much work out
Great
there.
abundance.
abundant.
Yes, exactly. And just kind of just kind of going for it. And just I love, one of the things I love that Val says is like collecting no's, you know? That's probably the seed. I think that would be my seed, is like how many no's can I collect? And I don't know if everyone's heard Val talk about that, but it sounds like a negative, but it's actually such a positive, because what that means, if I'm collecting all of these no's, it means that I'm just going out there over and over and over again and having a fun time while I'm doing it, right? Like that's been another great thing about hitting up these EPAs in my mornings before going to the theater or whatever, is like, oh yeah, I might not hear, maybe this show's already cast and this was just a required EPA, but I had fun. Like, oh, I did that monologue for the third time, but like, I think I found something else that I haven't found before in that monologue, Um, and being like, oh, that was cool. I like that was fun. I got to act this morning. And like that's technically collecting a no, because I didn't get called back for it. But like if I could just do that all year, then I think that'd be a good seed to plant.
That's great.
An EPA is a equity performer audition. Yeah. So it's like EPAs are like auditions that every equity show has to have an EPA, which is a general audition. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so if you don't know about collecting no's, a lot of times actors get stuck at no's, right? Or they don't do something because they're afraid of a no. So they'll be like, no, he said no. Why? They'll spend 5 years on one no. And so we want to get no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. We want to get through those no's so we can get to the yes. And make a game of it. It really does help when you make a game of it. We have another question.
We do. You noted the best actor asks the most questions, but I've always been told too many questions annoy everyone, especially the director. So I tend to hold back. I'm like Jessica, an overthinker. So I'm curious your take on this and where you draw the line.
Yeah. So do you want to take a shot at that, Jessica? Or do you want me to?
I will just say, are you an overthinker, or are you
Yeah.
thorough and intelligent actor? And I say this as someone who in my personal life is an overthinker. But I think that, where do I draw the line? Um, I guess if I've been talking around something for a long time and I realize that, like, we've kind of talked this moment or this beat out, like to the point where we're kind of just repeating ourselves at this point, and the only way that we're going to kind of discover what it is to just get on our feet and try a few things. That's probably where I would draw the line. Or if the director's like, you know what, I'm really not sure, like, can we try it? Is to just be like, yes, we can try it, as opposed to being like, no, I don't want to try it until we figure it out. I think that's a different thing, because that can be frustrating
Right.
to the director. You know what I mean?
I also think that there's this whole thing that happens with television, because television is hurry up and, wait mostly, but like it's about a hurry up thing. And so I think that, they expect you to already know when you get to the set. The rehearsal in television doesn't happen the same way that it happens in theater. And so I've never been dissuaded in theater from asking questions. And and when you do really good TV, like, I did 3 episodes of True Blood, and I remember watching, that was good TV, right? And when you do that, then you'll see the actors in conversation with the director, right? And asking those questions about, why am I doing this, and what does that mean, and what do I feel about that, like the questions that you proposed, Jessica. So but if you're doing Law and Order SVU, you probably aren't going to be given space to ask a lot of questions. And when you go to a casting workshop, if you do those, and you're with those casting directors like a Suzanne Ryan, and you're asking her, well, why do I say this, and why would I do this? She doesn't have time to answer those questions. And frankly, she's probably not interested in asking those questions. And I also think that, I was coaching a client yesterday. And by the way, Laura, if you're here, thank you for the Starbucks gift card. But I was coaching a client yesterday, and she said, she said something to that effect, like, well, they want to do 2 different takes. And I've been taught, if I don't give 2 different takes, that I should know, that she said that's been pounded into her head in casting workshops. And I'm like, well, that's just another reason why casting directors are going to go out of business, because they've refused now to do Zoom auditions, or right. And so the people that aren't, they're not doing their job anymore. And so they expect us to give ourselves the direction. So why do I need them? I don't need them. I certainly, if you want me to do 2 different takes, right? I'm like, then why don't you do a Zoom audition so you can tell me which direction to go next, right? So, yeah, I think that when you hear those things, be careful about who you're listening to. That's telling you those things, because certainly a director like Jessica's working with, or that I've worked with, or James has worked with in American theater, I would be shocked if they ever said to me, you asked too many questions.
Yeah, and that's a
Okay.
good clarification is I'm definitely talking about theater.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this thing I'm putting on tape in a couple of hours is like one scene in like a Dick Wolf show. I'm not gonna, if I book it, I'm not gonna show up and be like, so the sister, what's her deal? What is she, you know, like I'm just gonna show up and like do the thing, you
Yeah.
know? So yes, thank you for clarifying the, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
going to do that in a Dick Wolf show. But, you know, like I did this film that was shot live in live time, and you know, you know, and I mean, I basically rewrote the script with the director. I mean, he took my role and gave me another role because he realized something wasn't working. And, you know, so there was a lot of conversation there in that film, you know, and a lot of questions because I came there to do one role and was given a different role then, right?
Yeah, I think that what I would to this particular topic is that we need to be sensitive to the situation, and one of the things that I would ask anyone about the idea of questions is, am I listening? So we need to make sure that we're listening,
Yeah.
so that if we ask a question, it's the right moment, it's the right person, it's the right situation.
Yes.
And that's about being present. Um, TV in general, they don't want you to ask questions. They want you to show up and do what you did. Um, and there are going to be exceptions to that, but for the most part, with television, they really want you to hit your mark
Yeah.
and give what you did in the audition.
Yeah.
Um, film is very different, and it
Yeah.
depends on the director.
Yeah.
And stage is an entirely different animal. Um, so again, like really paying attention to the circumstance and really being attuned to where you are. You know,
that reminds me, James, I should also say like in terms of the theater stuff, I don't necessarily even mean like ask. I don't even know if I would call it ask questions. I think I just mean like table work because like when I say ask questions, I don't mean like, oh, director, like you know everything about the play. Can you please tell me the answer? It's like
Yeah.
I just mean like I'm an actor who really digs into table work or like table on your feet script analysis. That doesn't really mean that I'm always asking questions. It just means that like okay, like let's read the scene. And now like I am like, you know, something that occurred to me in this line was, you know, it really made me think about this. And it's a conversation and it just helps inform like the world building when we get on our feet. So I would just like make that distinction as well. That I
Yeah.
think that I try to not be the actor that's like, well, I only read the script once since I've been cast, and like I don't really know what's going on here. So like, can you tell me? You know,
Uh,
it's
that
not,
would be bad.
yeah.
But you know, in sitcom and in funny theater, which I've done a ton of all both those things, it's like it's frequently the question is it is on your feet because then you're like, is it funnier if I turn this way or if I turn this way? Is it funnier if I say the line and then turn? And is it funnier if I hit this or if I hit that? Right. So it's always the question is it funnier? And I remember being on a sitcom with Deborah Jo Rupp, the mom from the 70s show, right? And just watching her work, you know, in the sitcom was an awesome lesson. Like, you know, it's always great watching other people work because you learn so much. But she would be like, is it funnier if I do that or if I do that? Right, right. And I think like because I was doing a show once where it was hilarious and it wasn't there was a lot of holes in the script, right? And so we really, the three actresses that were playing these roles, we were really trying to make it work. And I just remember it was always like, well, and then there would be disagreements with the director. Well, I actually think it's funnier if I plop the whipped cream down and then say the line, right? And like, so we would have these like little, is it funnier arguments, right? And sometimes he'd win and sometimes I'd win, but I love that.
Yeah. And also I'm thinking now too, just to add even more context, that I do a lot of new work. Like I do a lot of,
Yeah.
I get invited to do readings. And so oftentimes it's like the playwright in the room wanting actor brains to help them continue to develop their play. And that's where I find it, I just think that's so fulfilling, you know, is to help the writer by having this discussion and going deeper into the text and stuff like that. So it definitely depends on where you are, because yeah, sometimes it's on your feet, which is fun too.
Yeah.
So Valerie, are there any things that you would like if you had a seed, a magical seed for the new year? What seed would you plant?
Stay the course. My word for this year is streamline.
Mm.
I'm on a course that I've been on, that I was put on with my financial coaches, and it's really tempting to get off of it. And I just want to stay on it because, and what keeps me on it is knowing what I'm going to feel like when I get to the other side of it. So stay the course is my magical seed. Yeah. What's yours, James?
Here's James.
I have always been a writer, but not written enough. So my magical seed is to do some writing every day.
Oh, that's great. That's a great seed.
And I actually I have I don't know if you guys I love using old fountain pens.
Me too.
They're fantastic.
I write with a fountain pen every day.
They're kind of magical, right?
Yeah.
So I bought for myself a couple of fountain pens, and I actually asked my wife to give me a special one, and it's in the mail on its way. And I'm really excited about doing my morning pages every day with a fountain pen. And just,
It really makes it more enjoyable.
yeah, I know it really does. It's true. It's so true.
Antoinette, who we were talking about the other day. Your mother wrote The Artist's Way. I got a divorce because of your mother. I was like, when you said my morning pages, I was like, your mother wrote the artist, because we did a show with the daughter of Julia Cameron, one of James's best friends. We did a long running show together, and then we found out halfway through that her mother was Julia Cameron. And I never forget, Antoinette said, your mother wrote The Artist's Way. I got a divorce because of your mother. It's like, why I hear that in my mouth. And Antoinette doesn't have that strong of an accent, but I hear it like that. You know, it's like with the cigarette, you know.
Totally, yeah.
Oh, and my other seed, which is very exciting for the new year, is to just continue being a best friend to my new dog that I got.
Oh,
She's been my little tour dog all year.
oh, that's so sweet. Oh,
Yeah.
What's her name? Is her?
Yeah, Juniper.
Juniper.
nice,
Got her
nice,
in January.
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
Max.
We have one more question. Let's take our question.
How do you keep them from clogging? Or have I brought the wrong pens? Oh, have I brought, so well, that's it. So it's a great question. They're actually if you buy a really high quality ink, the Waterman ink, it usually doesn't clog. But if it does clog, you can use like they actually have I mean you can use alcohol, like rubbing alcohol. Will actually help to clean it out. Jessica, do you have any other magical responses to that to keep the pens clean?
I apologize in advance for like sucking away all of your time, but if you go to YouTube, there's a whole YouTube community about fountain pens, and they will answer every question you have.
That's great. That's great. Maggie Egan Cummings wrote a whole bunch of podcast possibility names for us. Actors on getting to the yes, the actor's journey, a Sherpa's guide for actors, manifesting your acting career, mindset for actors, the actor's journey, conversations on acting.
Okay. Wait. I need all of these. Can you copy and paste them and send them to me? Or
of course.
Okay. Oh my God. Wait, I got it.
I like the
Yeah, we'd probably get sued by Julie Cameron if we called it the artist's way, but
Yeah, I think so. Yes. So
I got it.
so you guys who are on the call, like if you have ideas for the podcast name, please send them our way.
Yeah,
Because
send him to Valerie at Actors Fast Track. That would be great.
we are brainstorming this.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Maggie. That was great. Because and then Carolyn has one more. Did you get that question from Carolyn?
Which one?
She asked a question. Oh, maybe it was the one that we already answered. No, how do you
Yeah.
keep from clogging, or have I bought the wrong pens? Oh, you
Yeah,
answered that.
we
Okay.
answered that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
The artist's way. That's funny, Evans. That's hilarious. Okay, great. So yeah, if you do have any ideas, we would love to hear them, because we are going to be naming it, and we're excited about that. And again, if you dramatic tales, thanks, Brianna. That's cute. If you guys would like to join me for the reboot of Actors Biz School, it starts January 12th. If just reach out to me about that, and we are going to stop at 10 participants. So we have already sold a few, so we will stop at 10 participants. So it's going to be a really nice little small group that's going to be great. So if you would like to join me, let me know. That would be really fun to have you guys. I sent out about thespian tales, lesbian tales. We always used to call her that we were the lesbian society. I was the president of the lesbian society in high school. We called it that. Thespian tales. Great, Kim. Kim, reach out to me. I think I might have you. The Biz School reboot is 7 months. It's $797, or 7 payments of $147. That's how much it is. That's a great deal. And we meet twice a month. And if you decide before the end of the year, you get 2 private appointments with me. So if you would like to join, let us know. The professional way, the only way, the answers are here. I'll keep thinking. Perfect. Okay, Kim, I will reach out to you. I sent an email to some people this morning so you can see everything that's in it. All right, well, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Jessica for being here. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, I have you right here, Kim. I have your email right here, so I'll send you an email right after I get off of here. Yeah, Jessica, you were amazing. And
Thank you.
you'll
Thank
let
you,
us know
Jessica.
if you go on, right?
Yeah, we're
Oh,
so
yeah.
excited. It's so exciting. So many good things. It's so wonderful to hear.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for all the support and advice that you've all given. I love these webinars. I show up whenever I can, and
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, listen, remember what we talked about video games with all your physical theater background? You're perfect for video games.
yes.
So don't, like, Rockstar is the game in town, Rockstar Games. Reach out to those people. Let them know your physical theater background. Let them know, because I think you would be so good for video games, and it's a regular job, pays $1,000 a day.
Yeah, that's my other seed. Okay, that's my other seed I'm planting.
Okay, yeah. I just think that
Good.
you would be really good for that. So
Yes, Tosh, GTA 6. Oh, Tosh, I love seeing all of Tosh's stuff.
Tosh has been booking like a crazy person, and Tosh, we're gonna have you as a guest on here soon. So we already have you on the list. But Tosh has booked something else. He's booking yeah, he's crazy booking. So we're excited for him. I know, Tosh, we're ready to have you, and people want to hear from you, so we're happy. Yeah, you're on the list. I'll be in touch.
It really helps us seeing other people in the community achieving
Yeah.
those achievements. Like, it is surprisingly just really helpful,
Yeah.
for me personally, to just not feel so alone and see other people doing their thing. And that's why the masterminds are so good.
Yeah, they are. They are. They are for that reason. And we do learn from story. We really do. And we learn from like, oh, you know, because like sometimes we'll see someone and we'll see we'll see like, oh, they must be there, like Margot Robbie, and we don't see all the things that she had to that she was scared about, right? Or that she got a no to, or that people were mean to her. I love listening to her and Greta Gerwig talk about, Greta Gerwig's like, Margot has this thing, like at the end of every meeting, she goes, now, are there any other concerns or problems that you would like to talk to me about this project? Is what she said after every meeting to do with Barbie. And she said, I think the reason we got Barbie made is because there was thousands of concerns and fears. And if she said, if there had only been 3, we would have never been able to make it. But because there was so many, we were able to make it. I heard Greta Gerwig say that, and I thought, oh, that's really, and that Margot would ask at every meeting, now, are there any other problems or concerns that you would like to bring up, or fears that you have? Because she got that movie made, which is really cool. So yeah, our thing is like, be like Margot Robbie. We always say that now. That's like our chant. So
Great.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. We love you. It was great. Thank you, James. Happy holidays to you guys and happy new year.
You
And
too.
James and I'll be here next year, you guys. 3rd Thursday of the month. It's already in the calendar. And we have another guest already lined up for January. So we will be letting you know. And so we'll see you guys all soon. And I'll see a couple of you this afternoon. So all righty. Talk to everyone later. Thanks, Jess. All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.